This meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections to order at 3 p.m. Before we begin, as chair, I'd like to just take a brief moment of personal privilege. On behalf of the board, I want to extend a warm welcome to our two newly sworn-in members, Kendall Watkins and Reggie Turner. We are grateful to your commitment to public service and look forward to working together in the important work of ensuring secure, fair, and transparent elections here in Cobb County. So thank you both.
Thank you.
And at this time, I'd like to ask our new board members, Kendall Watkins and Reggie Turner, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I would like to remove the amendment to our bylaws from the agenda in order to give our two new members time to review it before we bring it forward for a vote.
Thank you. I think we need a motion to do so, correct, Daniel?
Yes, you can either move now to remove it from the agenda, or you can wait and just have a motion to table it when it comes up. Either one's fine.
Do you have a preference?
Vote on it now or vote on it later, I guess. I move that we remove the agenda item of the amendment to the bylaws and table it until next meeting to allow the members, new members, time to review it.
Great. Do we have a second?
I second.
Great. And all those in favor? The motion passes 4 with 1 no vote. 4 to 1. Thank you. So the agenda is amended to move the proposed amendment for the bylaws concerning officer elections to our next meeting. Thank you. Now we need a motion to approve the agenda with that removed. Correct, Daniel?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Great. The motion to approve the agenda has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please vote yes.
Madam Chair.
Your mic's off.
The motion is to approve as amended.
Yes. Apologies. And the motion to approve the amended agenda passes 5-0. Thank you. Next up, we will move into the public comment portion of the meeting. As per our last meeting, this segment will be facilitated by our legal counsel, Mr. Dwight, and that's consistent with how our Cobb County Commission manages their public comment. And at this time, I will turn it over to Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairwoman. I'm going to remind everybody that this is a limited public forum, so the board has sort of the right to expand or set the time limit as they need to be able to get through the business of the meeting. And so given the number of people who've signed up today, we're going to be doing 3 minutes of per public commenter. And we're going to rotate. We've got 2 people who want to speak online. So we're going to start with an online person, and then we'll go to an in-person speaker. And I'll try to give everybody a heads up of who's going next so that when maybe we can have some faster transitions this time. So the first speaker today is online, and that's Sally Grubbs.
Good morning or afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to the new members. You certainly have your task laid out ahead of you. And so I hope you're ready to dig in and see that Cobb County has fair elections. Speaking of which, I wanted to bring to your attention the redistricted maps in the city of Marietta. It's my understanding, I don't know whether this has been confirmed yet, but I'd like some kind of confirmation in the meeting today about the deadlines to make polling place boundary changes, and to be sure that that has all been done appropriately and that the Board of Commissioners has approved the boundary changes for the city of Marietta elections. And if not, I'd like to know what notification has been made on that. Also, I would like to reiterate the fact that the Republican Party does not have appropriate representation on the board. Something definitely needs to be done about that, and I hope if there are any legislators listening that they will take the appropriate steps to fix that. And also, I would like to have more information on the elections director. I understand that she's out on a leave of absence, and if she will be returning at the conclusion of her leave of absence, and would just like to again say, going into this election season, that it's very concerning what we have going on in Cobb County. And I hope that the new members are brought up to speed and that all members of the Board of Elections are treated equitably and fairly and appropriately informed equally. Thank you very much.
The next speaker will be Sally Riddle in person, and then after Sally, we'll go back online for Denny Wilson.
Good afternoon, Sally Riddle, resident of Cobb County. First, I want to echo Chairwoman Mosbacher's comments, welcoming the 2 new board members. Thank you for taking this important task on. And thank you to our continuing board members who continue to work for access and equality within our elections. I just have one ask at this particular time, and that is that we take another look at shift work on election days for Cobb County election workers. We know that we have workers who have had to stop working because of the long, difficult day from about 6 in the morning to a minimum of 7 at night. By the time they do breakdown, it's usually long after that, plus those that are delivering the results back to the Board of Elections office. Other areas are successfully doing this. If we could do a pilot during the primary of 2026, I know that some have concerns that for some reason they think there would be greater absenteeism with individuals who are working a part day versus a full day, but we already know that we lose full-time workers too when unexpected illnesses or family emergencies come up, and with adequate notice and adequate education of part-time workers, I don't see any reason why they would have any higher absentee rate than full-time workers would. And it would certainly bring back some workers who love doing the work on election day, but have not been able to do it because of the long day involved and the physical stamina that they no longer have to do that. Thank you.
All right, next we're going to hear from Denny Wilson, and he's online, and after Denny, we'll hear from Catherine Flom in person.
Last I checked, she had not jumped on.
Okay, she
is not.
She's not on. Okay, we'll go ahead and hear from Ms. Flom, and we'll check back on Ms. Wilson later.
Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Flom. I'm a resident here in Marietta City and in Cobb County. I currently serve as a campaign manager for a Marietta City Council candidate, and I formerly served as a campaign manager for a House District 37 representative candidate, so I'm very familiar with wards and precincts within Marietta City. In prepping my candidate, I noticed that the Marietta City ward maps were different from the Cobb County precinct maps. I needed clarification on which map was accurate so that my candidate was knocking on the right doors and so that candidates would be able to vote in the correct ward when they show up to vote, and also so that I could get a correct list for doing mailings and inviting people to events. Normally, I should be able to search by precinct in Marietta to generate an accurate list of the registered voters. So I emailed Tate on August 22nd, received an auto reply, and told that I should contact Michael Dietrich, which I did on August 23rd. Michael responded by the 25th, saying a redistricting team was investigating this discrepancy and that the redistricting team was working with Marietta City on finalizing the maps, but they needed a 2-week review period. Keep in mind that this is about 51 days before advance voting starts for municipal races, and candidates are already campaigning and door knocking. The answer I got did not clarify the issue for me, so I asked him to make it clear which maps are correct. Will voters get to vote for the correct candidate for the new Marietta City ward boundaries? And how do I get this electronic list? On August 28th, Michael responded with a longer email response answering 2 of my big concerns. Yes, that the Marietta City maps are correct, the Cobb County maps are incorrect, and that all voters have been coded correctly in the proper ward so that when they show up to vote, they will have the correct candidates on their ballot. After further follow-up, I learned that Cobb Elections could not provide me or my candidates with a list of registered voters in Ward 3, so I would have to request this from Secretary of State's office, and that was a 2-week process. My question is, why weren't the maps in sync? Why is Michael only learning the answers to this in the last week? To Michael's credit, he was very quick in responding and did answer my questions, but was the Cobb Elections working on this problem before I brought it up? I do understand that the city of Marietta went through redistricting process after the 2020 census to rebalance the distribution of voters in each ward, and that on October 13, 2023, the Marietta City Council voted unanimously to adopt the new ward maps. I also understand that the new ward boundaries deviated from the existing precinct boundaries. So the county needed to rework these boundary districts to make...
Ms. Flom, your time
All right, thank you.
is up. Next, we will hear from Elizabeth Hendrickson, and after Ms. Hendrickson, we'll hear from Susan Clark.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Hendrickson. I would like to express my appreciation specifically to the new board members for their willingness to take on this important role in public service. I'd also like to extend my continuing thanks to the remaining board members. I would like to thank all of you for supporting as much access to voting as possible, making 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. available for as much of the advanced in-person voting period as possible, and having both Saturdays and at least one Sunday, preferably both, during that period creates the flexibility to ensure that all voters, regardless of work schedules and other responsibilities, can cast their ballots securely and conveniently. Since voter turnout is often an issue, particularly in these odd years, I again suggest having some text reminders or push notifications to remind people about the election in time for them to research candidates, and then again closer to Election Day. These could share the times and the locations for advanced in-person voting or a link to them, as well as the races that are going to be on the ballot. This would be easy for recipients to also share with friends and family, possibly spreading the information even further. Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and again, thank all of you for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Hendrickson. We have Susan Clark next, and then after that, we'll hear from Representative Terry Cummings.
Hi, yes, I'm Susan, or Susie Clark, and I'm a resident of Cobb County, and I work as assistant manager now at a polling precinct, Shady Grove, which has been brought up. I've brought it up as maybe not the best location due to where it is, and that most people have to walk past homeless people, although they've never been an issue. It still makes elderly people, feeble elderly people, nervous. And I know it was on Tate's radar to get a new polling place, but if you could push harder. I, as assistant manager, and has worked many of these different polling precincts over the last couple of years, I am very pleased how safe, nonpartisan, how ethical the voting and the voting management is. Everything seems totally above board, and I appreciate that. I did want to thank the new, pleased to see the new faces on the commission. I want to reiterate the request to have shifts. I spoke last time thinking that that was a nationwide thing, that you work these grueling, horrible times. You're there, you're gone 15 hours. And I think this is probably going to be my last time, because it's just exhausting for this old lady. 2 shifts would be great. I think it could be done all on in an ethical manner. I used to think it was because of ethics, and it's not. Just evidently other counties in Cobb County do a shift system. So we can too. And I know we've got the brains and the willpower to be able to do this. I do think that the KSU should have a polling precinct because there's so many students. And those are our young, our future strength, to have these kids in you're 40 years and lower our kids to me, but to have the kids learn the value of voting and that they have precincts and a voice nearby. And I'm done. Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from State Representative Terry Cummings. I want to say a special thank you. I know our board appreciates when elected officials and House members come out here. And then after Representative Cummings, we'll have Mike Benz.
Good afternoon, everyone. I wasn't present at the last meeting, but I wanted to first take a moment to thank former Chairwoman Tori Silas, who chaired the board with professionalism and integrity during her term. Next, I want to congratulate both Kendall Watkins and Reggie Turner on their appointments to the board. This is the very first time that the Board of Elections has had true representatives from all of Cobb, as South Cobb is now represented on the Board of Elections. We have someone from Mableton and from Smyrna, and I am very happy about that. So I think that the board as it is shows true representation of all sections of Cobb. I have strong confidence in both Reggie and Kendall's ability to serve with professionalism, integrity on the board, and follow the law. The work's not always going to be thankful, and it's not always going to be easy, but I have full confidence in both of you. And I really thank both of you for accepting your nominations and appointment. One thing that I do want to respond to, that Mrs. Grubbs said that there was only one Republican on the board and that was a problem. And I'm just going to say, prior to 2018, I believe for many years, there was only one Democrat on the board. And I don't recall hearing any complaints from the other party complaining that there were not enough Democrats on the board. This is how these things go. When you have a majority, those majorities get to vote and they get to do the selections. So again, you guys are on the board. You have every right to be here. I'm happy to see representation. And I will say I believe that Mr. Turner is the first African-American male to serve on the Board of Elections. So thank you again, and congratulations to you both.
Thank you, Representative Cummings. Next, we'll hear from Mike Benz, and after Mr. Benz, we'll hear from Jenny Choate.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Benz. I've been a resident of Cobb County for over 20 years. Appreciate your service. Appreciated the past board service, Stephen Bruning and Tori Salas. And I'm sure you're going to have interesting times, right? So appreciate you working together, working according to whatever the facts of the situation on the ground are, according to the law, the rule of law. I don't believe there were really any major incidents in the last elections in Cobb County. And even though it was really a very stressful and intensive sort of pressure on the board and on staff that worked those. So very appreciative of always the professional conduct. When I moved to Cobb County, I won't say from where I moved, but I was always and still are very impressed with the service through the Cobb County government. It doesn't seem to matter what department that I need help with. They're always knowledgeable and professional and courteous and really very quick to take care of things. So as I've been following this over the last couple of years, I would just say my experience with the Cobb Board of Elections is the same, and that's attributed to the people who take the oath seriously and to do the job that's needed. All the things that some of the previous speakers said, I would also reinforce as far as shift work, some things of that nature. And again, just appreciate the work you do and, maintaining the high standards. And thank you very much. I hope it all goes well for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Choate, and then after that, we'll check one more time to see if Ms. Wilson is online.
Virginia Choate. I want you to know that your current chair is effectively a 2-year-old. In 2024, on the weekend before Election Day, she deliberately taunted me by dancing and hopping around in front of the teller window singing, "I can be here and you can't," over and over again. This was after poll watchers were made to sit in front of the inside windows facing the street. We were moved back there so that we could not count the number of ballots being brought in by individual. When they figured out that we could still determine that by the stamping of the ballots, they moved the person stamping the ballots further back. Ms. Mosbacher made it clear that weekend that she is a deranged partisan that hates Republicans and enjoys flaunting it. She is a liability to be chair and not fair to any resident of Cobb County. Ms. Mosbacher being in any serious decisions on elections is a farce. I have one more thing about disability parking that you might want to address. If I had only come with myself and my husband, we're both disabled, he's much more disabled than I was able to finally let him off at the door at the parking. We were not allowed to park in the monthly parking. He can't very, very well even go up a slope with a walker. And I was told the only disability parking I could find was the parking lot, the building behind here. If I had not had other people with me, I would have had difficulty getting him out of the car and up here and then go parking the car. So you should address that, because I think you're being not really well, treating people with disabilities very well. I might not look like I'm disabled, but I cannot lift, bend, or twist the rest of my life because of spine surgery.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Choate. Now we'll check one more time for Ms. Wilson online. There's nobody online? Okay, it doesn't appear that Ms. Wilson has ever joined us online, so that will do it for the public comment portion of the meeting, and I will hand it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you to everyone who participated in public comment today. We're going to move on to the next item, which is a public hearing regarding temporary polling location changes for Fair Oaks 04, Palmer 01, Oakdale 01, Smyrna 7A, and Vinings 04. And at this time, I will turn it over to staff for presentation of Exhibit A.
Good afternoon, Board. Again, welcome to our new members. We're going to talk about 5 locations that the office is requesting to co-locate for the upcoming election. Basically, the gist of it is, since we've had these series of elections, it's been a lot on our polling locations. The majority of them are not county-owned facilities. They're private businesses that have their own business to conduct while trying to manage and juggle in between all of these elections. So I say that because that's really the consensus of why these 5 in particular. I do believe one did change ownership, and that could have played a part in it. However, just based on conversations and emails back and forth, it really boils down to there was too many elections this year, and they just couldn't manage it, and that's kind of why they backed out. So the first one we're going to look at is Fair Oaks 04. If you look in your packet, you should have a map and then a one-pager right behind it that goes over some pertinent information. With Fair Oaks 04, that was previously Seven Springs Church, Marietta, we are requesting to move it into Fair Oaks 02, which is Christ Anglican Church. It is 0.7 miles away, and it looks like roughly a 3-minute drive. Sorry, I'm pulling up my notes here. Sorry, one second, my computer's not working. No, I have copies. I was looking for some other data. So we are requesting to move Fair Oaks 04 into Fair Oaks 02. We did have some alternatives. However, with the timeline, we just were not able to get confirmation from a lot of these places. Mainly the churches, when we're working, they're not normally working, so we even had to do some weekend hours to try to drop by when we could to, just get a contact with someone. Specifically for Fair Oaks 04, I believe we had nearly 10 potential locations. However, not a single one confirmed, got back to us. We followed up with a few emails, but none of those locations just panned out in the timeline that we had to advertise and the board vote on it. And so for that, we are asking, did you guys want to vote on individually or all together?
I'm fine to take them one at a time.
Do you guys have any questions?
Madam Chair, I don't think that any of us have any real objections on these changes. So it may be more expeditious if we let Michael make the full presentation and vote on all of them.
I would leave that to the new board members, if that's something, I was thinking it might be better for your purposes to kind of go through each one, but you guys can let me know if you have a preference.
For the sake of our record, would it be best to go individually?
Sure, I can go through, it's whatever the board prefers, I can do it either way.
It's fine. You're allowed to take them collectively or one at a time. So we've done it both ways in the past.
I don't have a strong preference.
My preference would be collectively.
Great, so we can go through them all. And to clarify, these are through the end of the year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's.
Temporary locations through the end of the year.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's aware.
And Michael, can you point out which ones are agreeing to host again next year versus which ones are a no? Because I saw on on Fair Oaks, they're done being a precinct going forward, not just for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so all of these locations essentially quit hosting
it.
elections. So we
Okay.
have to find permanent replacements for them. But considering the timelines and our success with the last few elections with the co-locations, that was our best option to move forward with the co-locations.
Okay, thanks.
But that is next year, top priority is replacing them, and we have a lot of things going already. Okay, so for the second one, we are requesting temporarily changing Palmer 01 from Calvary Chapel to Shiloh Hills Baptist Church. That is Bells Ferry 04. It is just 1.8 miles from the previous location, or a 5-minute drive. I added some more information on the sheet just to to give a reality, because all 5 of these are unincorporated, so they're not participating in the municipal elections. So they will just have the 2 PSC contests on it. So that's why under the election type, you'll see the turnout. For this one specifically, Palmer had 78 show up in June. Bells Ferry 04 had 80. So we're talking roughly 150 voters that showed up for the last election. They're not participating in the munis. I anticipate a similar turnout for this one. The next location is Smyrna 7A. And a little side note, with Smyrna 7A, Oakdale, and Vinings 04, they're all kind of geographically clustered together. So it was a little more difficult for us to find the best options for the co-location. So we kind of used the boundaries themselves to kind of make a decision. So for Smyrna 7A, previously at Life Church Smyrna Assembly of God, we're requesting to change that to Thompson Community Center. That is a county-owned facility, and it has great parking, plenty of space for all the voters. It is located 2 miles. I will note that Mableton 4C, which is Thompson Community Center, is a part of the municipal election. However, I don't foresee any problems with them co-locating. We can ensure that there are separate sample ballots. There won't be any confusion on who's supposed to be voting on what. Because that was my concern with co-locating into a municipal while there was a PSC. However, with the success that we've had and the staff's ability to communicate, I don't think it'll be an issue. Vinings 04, that was Cochise Riverview Club, to change them into the Vinings Library, which is Vinings 01. It is 0.6 miles, and it's about a 2-minute drive. Election day turnout for June for Vinings 04 was 128, and for Vinings 01 it was 107. So that was actually on the higher side of turnout for June. And like we said, likely the same turnout. The facility is more than able to handle that. We'll definitely have additional equipment in case we do see an uptick. So the prep center will be ready to take additional voting equipment out there if there is an uptick, and that's for any of these facilities. And I believe that was all 5.
I think we didn't do Oakdale 01.
Oh, we didn't do Oakdale? I'm sorry, I was probably flipping through and skipped over it. Oh. Sorry about that. So Oakdale 01, temporary polling location change from St. Thomas Catholic Church to Nickajack Elementary School. Nickajack Elementary is one of the schools that we are actively trying to get out of. I believe with Tate's meeting earlier in the year, that was one of the 9 that we're actively looking to get out of in 2026. So that will continue. However, with this scenario, as I previously mentioned, since Smyrna 7A and Vinings, all of those clusters, those would be the co-locations we chose. The closest one that made sense is Nickajack 01, with a 0.6 miles away and a 3-minute drive. Their election day turnout for June for Oakdale was 116. For Nickajack, it was 100, so it's kind of similar in line with the rest of them. It wasn't crazy busy. I don't think it will be crazy busy again. And I believe that covers all of them. Do you have any questions?
And just to make a comment for the public, it is a school holiday on this November election day. So, you know, normally the reason we try to get out of the schools is because we don't want the students to be interacting with the voters. But in this particular election, that's not going to be an issue because there is no school for the Cobb County School District.
Correct. And for the ones that we remain in, we also have an agreement that we will have a deputy on site all day for the voting, so.
And these changes for these 5 precincts, these co-locations, will incorporate both the November election and any potential December runoff, correct?
That is correct. It'll be through the end of the year.
And then come January, these will be sort of top of the priority list
Yes,
for
we
us to find.
basically start from scratch, but not really starting from scratch because we've been doing the work this summer. It's just really a matter of getting the contracts drawn up and have them executed.
Great. I have one ask, and I think what I'd like for us to do, or at least for all of us to see at some point, is maybe what the roadmap is for precinct changes that we're working on as an office through for next year, so that we're, you know, up to speed and expeditious with how we look at those and communicating to voters as we move into the midterm year.
Sure, absolutely. We have a lot of data already compiled. I can put it all together and then we can talk about it. I know it's not been easy, especially with so many schools to relocate and then all of the ones that quit us this year. However, the site survey team has been plugging away, and I mean, they're out every day. We've been talking about some things in the preliminary stages of during voter ed, how we can work that out, but we don't have anything solidified yet. But we are looking at new ways to try to entice these locations to want to be a part. They're not lining up anymore. I don't know if they actually ever were, but they're definitely not lining up anymore. So that is going to be a main focus of site survey moving forward, is to have adequate backups on top of the ones that we're using on a regular basis.
And I think if the 5 of us are able to see that roadmap, we might also be able to help, you know, sort of either recruit or talk to potential facilities and help that process along. I think it's pretty crucial that we do it as early in the year as possible so that we have adequate time to educate voters about those changes.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Daniel. How can the public reach out, and who should they reach out to if someone has a lead to a possible precinct?
Well, who's our site? Michael's probably a better answer.
So there's multiple people that they can reach. Essentially, anyone in the prep center they can contact, but it's really our site survey team, which is Brian Gogley and Joseph Barkus, that handle these kind of things. However, the prep center supervisor, David Letts, is more than capable of handling it and disseminating information.
Thank you.
And anything that we send to Michael, he can forward along.
Absolutely.
So I think that's always the most direct way.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments from the board? And Daniel, I believe we open this to public hearing, correct? Yes. If there's anybody from the public who would like to comment regarding any of these precinct changes?
Thanks. I didn't know there was actually going to be public input. My name is Robbie Huck. I live at 191 Summit Avenue. And the only comment I have, since I don't know the actual physical locations of all of the changes, is that all of these changes are kind of chaotic for the voter who, you know, to keep track of, especially for the PSC. If you voted one place for the primary and something new for the general, it might be confusing. And then I want to comment on Stacy's efforts, the board members' statement about the reason we get out of schools is that we don't want the students interacting with voters. I would say that would be the reason to be in the schools, because we want the young people to see that it is a civic duty to be part of our representative republic. And the only way you're going to learn that is by seeing it. So the sooner the better. And I would think that it would be the safest day of the year because the precinct is all the community members, the people who live around the school. So someone like me, I don't have children, it gives me a chance to be in the school and vice versa, the kids to see people who they don't normally see. And the city, I know the city of Marietta, we used to always vote at the schools, and it was so easy. You don't have to worry about, because we own them, the people own them. So anyway, please consider going into the schools, not running from them, reaching out to the young people who are our future. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else who would like to speak on these precinct changes? All right, I will entertain a motion regarding the proposed temporary polling location changes as presented in Exhibit A.
So moved as presented.
And do we have a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and properly seconded to entertain the precinct changes. If everybody can enter their vote, please. And the motion passes 5-0, and we will relocate these precincts Fair Oaks 04, Palmer 01, Oakdale 01, Smyrna 7A, and Vinings 04 as presented in Exhibit A. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from August 18th, regular meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? I know we sent them out to the new board members. Does anybody have any corrections or changes that need to be noted? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor? All those opposed? None? The motion to approve the minutes passes 5-0. Thank you. Now we will move into old business. Item 1 of old business is the advance in-person voting schedule for the November 4th municipal elections and special general election. I'm going to pass that over to our acting director, Michael Dietry.
Okay. So if you see on the screen, of course, the 6 municipal locations are obviously determined by the municipalities themselves. I know previously in the board meetings, we discussed having appropriate coverage on East Cobb. So that is why you will see East Cobb Government Center being proposed. They are unincorporated. They're not a part of the municipal election. However, just to ensure that we had an adequate geographical coverage, we are going to go ahead and propose East Cobb Government Center to be open for East Cobb voters. We went back and forth on the hours. I think what we decided on is we're going to do 7 to 7 for all 3 weeks. On Saturday, we'll do 9 to 5 on October 18th, and October 25th, 9 to 5, and then the Sunday, October 26th, from 12 to 5. What our plan is to use the data from this election to kind of determine a consistent schedule moving forward for off years. Each year we go into this and want to establish a consistent time frame for all of our voters. But some turnout is larger than others. Some elections are higher priority than others. So we just want to be consistent so it's easier on our voters. So we did elect to go with 7 to 7 for the 3 weeks. However, we hope to use the data from this to deem potentially in an off year an 8 to 6 type schedule, something that the office really pushes for, but at the time, just we didn't have enough data to support that argument. But we hope to use this upcoming election to have that data.
CP, can we put up the map as well? Do you have that for the early vote locations?
Say that again.
The map for the early vote locations? I feel like that's helpful as well. Just so everyone can see the coverage out there. The star denotes where we have a drop box.
Yes, there's drop boxes at all of the municipal locations. And that one on the far right, the blue dot, is East Cobb Government Center.
Is there any discussion for them from the board? Or any questions for Michael? I just want to thank you for the 7 to 7 and the Saturdays and the Sunday. I think that our voters deserve that access, so I'm excited to see that on here. And I think our coverage, I mean, we have talked about making sure that we had that coverage east of 75 for the East Cobb voters for the PSC race. So I think this is a good coverage, and I look forward to seeing the data as we move forward.
Me too.
I will, if there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the advanced in-person voting schedule for the municipal general and special general election, November 4th.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to approve the advanced in-person voting schedule. All those in favor? And the motion carries 5-0 for our advanced in-person voting. Thank you. Let's see. Since we are moving beyond, we're tabling the item 2. We will move into, there's no new business on today's agenda, so we will move on to the election office reports and updates. So back to you, Mr. Dietrich.
So the first part of the director's update will come from our communication specialist, Tammy Thorpe.
Thank you, CP. Hi. So thank you guys for letting me speak today, and welcome to our new board members. I know it's been a couple of months since I was supposed to speak, so happy to be back today. All right, so I spoke with, well, 3 of you guys, back in February with our communications plan and our objectives and goals, so I've just kind of brought those up here again, just to launch our department SharePoint, standardize our brand, and so on. So the slides coming out after this, we'll talk about the outcomes from some of these, and I'll talk about more of where we'd like to go for the rest of the year. So we have launched our department SharePoint that we were calling Peach Point. You'll notice that everything that we are on brand with the peach symbol. So we've called it Peach Point. This is for our internal, for our staff. It's our department intranet. So it is a place for them to get department news that we're calling Peach Post. So it's a newsletter that comes out every Monday that gives just kind of the highlights, what's going on in the week. So all of our staff is included and everybody knows what's going on within the building. At any point in time, in any division, there could be multiple things happening. So that way it's safety first, and our staff is also included. In addition to that, you'll have quick links. It's just a way for our staff to be able to get easy access to information, to not have to go to multiple sources. We have our department calendar that has, as you guys are aware, the election dates. There's a lot of things that deadlines that we have to meet, so we've added those things in there. And we have a lovely countdown so that we know how many days we are until Election Day. All right, so also within our goals, we want to standardize I can't talk today. Standardize our brand materials to reflect our new image. So I've got some references here so you can actually see it in person. And I'm sure some of you guys probably have received the postcard that came in the mail beginning part of the year. So that's part of our new brand as well. The polling location changes that we had over the summer for the June election and for the July election, they received this postcard here. And then we also, again, just so that the voters see consistency, I think, what was it, 2020? We saw, or at least I know I received in my mailbox, multiple things from different sources, and I didn't know what was real and what wasn't real, right? And so what we have decided to make sure we focus on is so that our voters know that it comes from us, that it doesn't come from a third-party organization, so that there's no confusion that this is real information and official information. So moving forward, what they will get from us in the mail will look like this. It will have this look. It will have that kind of wave at the bottom. Again, so there's consistency. So one of the things I'm super proud about is our outreach display. I'm very competitive. So when we go to outreach events and you have other departments or other organizations and they have these really fancy displays and like it just looks really good and it's compelling, right? When you're walking by and you see 17 of the same thing, it's not really compelling, right? So ours is really compelling. Like I walked by their last event and I was like, oh, I really noticed our tent and our display. So we've got, again, we're featuring this peach logo and then the turquoise, or not turquoise, the teal and the white. One of the things that we've noticed too is that with voter fatigue and a lot of things happening, people just don't want to talk to us. And we don't want to be those people that come at them, right? Super aggressive and like a hard sell, because that's just not okay. So what we've come up with is this sign here that's just, it's very simple, it's very clean, and it gets them to come to us. Because people just don't necessarily think of, oh, when's the next election coming? Or, hey, do I need to check my registration status? It's very simple, it's very clean. And since we've added this sign, we're seeing an uptick in people coming to us. And that generates conversation, right? That generates the talk of, oh, I didn't know there was the PSC election, or what is the PSC election for that matter? So it's been really helpful for us. And then along with that, we have the voter guide that we give out to them that each of you have a sample of up there with you. It's just something simple. It's not, I mean, we're not made of money, so we don't have a lot to offer, but it's good information, it's helpful information, and the voters seem to really appreciate it. And that they're then taking that back and they're able to, educate their neighbors and educate their friends that, hey, these are resources that are available to you. All right, so in addition with our outreach, we've had 6 events so far this year. So one of the things that we focused on this year was to be at events that have a larger footprint, because again, I'm myself, and I have an intern till the end of the year, so there's not a whole lot to go around. So we're just really focusing on what events have larger footprints and can be the most beneficial for the department and for the voters. So again, 6 events this year. We're focusing on where families are going to be at, because again, they'll come to festivals, right? And that's just an easy way for us to talk to people. Impressions, we count as impressions. If you came up and spoke to us about something, or we engage with you about something, we are tracking that data. So it's 528 of those 6. And we've had 14 either registrations or a change of address. I know that number is not stellar, the 14, but when you think of how many registered voters are in Cobb County, our number is actually already really high. For us, it's more of an educational moment. So we're trying to teach you, hey, this is how you find information about your My Voter page. First off, do you even know what that is? And can we teach you about figuring out what your election dates are? Can we teach you about finding your election officials? Can we teach you about finding your polling location? So not necessarily about registration, because again, Cobb is really, really good about that. But can we educate you about how to find the information so that you can educate your neighbor, right? Those kind of things. So as far as our social media, so we started social media in the fall of last year. So almost about a year. And again, we have $0 budget dollars behind that, so we're completely organic, and we are figuring out what works and what doesn't work, and what the public likes and what the public doesn't like. So our Instagram. So when I spoke with you back in February, I've given you insights from there till now. So we've gained 36 new Instagram followers, and we've gained 105 new Facebook followers. So again, they're not stellar numbers, but for organic and not paid, they're actually really good. And for being election information it's not the most fun. We're not parks. We don't talk about swimming and what festivals are coming up. So for those are really good. Obviously we see an uptick and we see a downplay when things are happening in elections. through the summer when there's nothing happening, we take a dive. I mean, it just is what it is. There's not a lot, but we're taking those moments to find other ways to talk about the department or other ways that our elections are pretty beneficial to you. So again, not stellar numbers for the public, but for me, they're pretty exciting because we came from nothing to now. So with that, on our social media, we have kind of figured out what the public is looking for and how we can help educate them. So we have tailored our marketing to that. So what I noticed when we were doing voter ed events, when I was talking about the Public Service Commission, I would get blank stares, which meant people had no clue what I was talking about. So that tells me that we need to talk about the PSC. What is the PSC and how's it beneficial to you? So we developed a campaign talking about, did you know? Did you know about the PSC? And again, all this information is readily available. It came from the PSC's website, so it wasn't me thinking my own thing. And we saw an uptick with people like reading that information and sharing it, which is good. That helps our engagement. We started doing more things about, again, elections ahead. Do you notice that your polling location has changed? Because that is a big thing. People are always questioning, well, I voted here for the last 6 years, but my polling location has changed today. Okay, let me teach you how to find where your polling location is. Let me teach you how to not wait for the mail, but find yourself on your My Voter page. Again, educational moments. Same thing, we're really proud of the fact that we were ranked top 3 in the state for early voting turnout. That's a good factoid for the public. We featured that. This latest one at the end is the one I posted on Friday about the upcoming elections. Again, teaching the public that you have elections coming up. Did you even know that? Because some people don't know, right? Telling them when their last day to register to vote. Again, because if you don't register to vote or update your address, you can't vote in that election. Like, again, educational moments. So you'll see, like today, for example, is Disability Voting Rights Week, started today. So our post today was about Disability Voting Rights Week, and every post for this week will feature something about accessible voting and how the equipment can be the accessible voting equipment for you in Georgia. Again, teaching moments, because some people just don't know what is available to them. They think, oh, I can't vote because I can't sit, or I can't vote because I need a sip and puff device. No, we have that capability for you. Let's use it as a teaching moment. And then, because we do not have again, large reach and we're just starting out, we are partnering with Comms because the Comms already has that reach. They have roughly 44,000 in their Cobb line weekly. So we have, again, partnered with them to get them to share about elections because we don't have the reach, but they do. So you'll notice that, like, this post right here in the corner is what they posted on Facebook for us, again, because they have the reach that we don't. And then they're also posting in, like I said, Cobb line weekly, and the Board of Commissioners newsletters are up to them and their discretion. So some will post, some won't post, but it's kind of here or there for that one. And that is what I did. I'm a really fast talker, so questions?
So really great work. I love the consistent messaging. I think that's going to be really helpful to all the voters in Cobb. And you mentioned that, you try to get your bang for the buck when you go out to different highly populated events. If someone from the public knows of an event going on, do you encourage them to reach out and invite you there? And if you do, how would they know how to do that? Like, who do they contact or what do they do to invite you?
Okay, so there's a couple ways. So there's always our elections info, which is a generic inbox that gets filtered to the different divisions. My email address is VEO, so it's Voter Education Outreach at cobbcounty.gov. Or you can actually go on our website under voter registration. Voter registration and then registration drive, there's actually a page with a form you can fill out that goes to me that people can request. But again, I'm a party of one with some phenomenal help, so I'd love to be everywhere. However, that doesn't always work.
That was my exact question, Stacy. Thank you. I love the consistency. I love the work you're doing, and I am one of your 180 followers.
Thank you. I know. I saw you follow that, so I was very excited.
Oh, you did. And I will push it out to my network. Thank you.
Appreciate that. It does help if you share. That does help our engagement tremendously because your network is not our network. So if you can push the information out, that is super grateful.
And even if you don't want to share or comment, I try to like everything I see because when that just adds more engagement. So just note to the public, if you also want to help get exposure to these social media pages, even a simple like or thanks for letting us know, comment, that's going to help.
It does.
The publicity.
For sure.
I have two questions. One is, I would love for our board to have maybe our email signatures standardized with some of the same kind of branding and logo and, whatever outreach, links to the social media. If you could help us design that so that we could all have that sort of consistent branding.
With the board seal?
I mean, I think it could be with the Cobb elections. I mean,
Okay.
I like what you've done with the logo. I don't know if anybody else has a thought on that, but I'd love for us to be able to also promote through our email that same kind of social media, those links and the same branding messaging.
Okay.
If that was okay, if everybody thinks that would be a good idea. And then what is the sort of direction for the website? And maybe making it to match, is that sort of under your realm? No. Okay.
No.
So we'll put that on the radar maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not under my realm, but we can definitely, direct it.
You've done great. I mean, this is beautiful work, and I think it's engaging. I like the color scheme. I'd love to see that the website also was consistent with that, if that was possible. I think that would also serve to create consistency for our voters. And the same thing where you talked about where they know that they're landing, the card in their mailbox
It
is
all
from,
matches, yeah.
right, that they also are on the proper webpage. Because we have had Facebook pages that mimicked ours that weren't ours.
Yes,
So-
that was a difficulty in the beginning, yes.
Exactly. So I think that would be really nice from a consistency perspective, that the voter knows, oh, if they end up on our web page, that matches our social media, all those things are consistent.
I do know with the webpage that there is, I believe, at some point, they're supposed to be changing over to a completely different platform, so there will be some changes for sure with the website.
Great. Hopefully you can get your messaging in.
It's on my list.
Perfect. Thank you for presenting today. I
For sure.
appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Okay. Get my slides put up. Okay. So first, and I know Tammy mentioned that she's a party of one. She does have an intern, but she does a lot of work for these outreach and voter ed events. And, sometimes there may be 10 people there. Sometimes there's a lot of people there, but at times Tammy can work a lot of hours, and she's really the brain and the moving force behind this whole rebranding of elections. So outstanding job, Tammy. We really appreciate it, because if you asked me, I said black and white and, just keep the Cobb logo, so, it really brings the vision. And that's kind of what we needed. So great job on that. Okay, so list maintenance. I've really had to jump in and learn this stuff pretty quickly. There's so much to it, so many moving parts, just like elections going on. But I think the gist of it, and what most people are interested in, is how many people were removed. So that number is 37,159 as of August 21st. We actually heard back from 47 people out of the initial 37,206. 47 people got in touch with us. So that's not good. As far as the NCOA, I believe it was last week, it may have been the week before, there was a Firefly post that went out from the Secretary of State, and they had September 8th, I believe was the date. We still haven't heard anything from No Ink. We've reached out, and I guess with some more conversation, it's now our understanding that maybe the conversations and communications are starting today, not the actual mailing. So as of 1 o'clock this afternoon, we have not received any information from No Ink yet. But we have inquired several times from several different parties on what's the status, when are we going to get this info, because there's money involved with it, so we need to know.
Can you just clarify for everyone and the new board members the difference between NGE and NCOA?
Sure. So NGE is basically no general election, no contact. When you're in active status and like I said, I'm still learning all of this, and our registration division manager is out today. When there's 2 general election cycles that we have no contact, you don't vote, you become inactive. And then once you're inactive, and tell me if I'm wrong, there's another time frame, which I believe is another 2, being inactive before that you can essentially be canceled. So that is the NGE, and that is what these 37,159, they all went roughly 9 years of no activity, contacting our office, voting, any of those things. So that's why they were removed. And then the NCOA is the National Change of Address. And honestly, I'd have to go through all these notes to fully comprehend what that is, but it's my understanding that this is all done through the post office. So if somebody moves away, whether it's out of state, out of county, out of country, this is when they change their mailing address with the post office. This is basically that list that notifies us. And then I don't think I have the rest of it right now, but it is, we're all working on it, and it's come.
Yeah. So Michael, with this, he's right, the NGE is the no contact. There's other reasons you can end up on the inactive list, and NCOA is actually one of those. So the NCOA will result in a mailing. When we get notice that people haven't been, they've changed address, it's a lot of that, some of that comes through the Secretary of State, some comes through our office. Again, that's details on the registration side, but that will result in something being sent to say, can you confirm you've moved? If we get that bounce back, then you can end up on the inactive. But until we have a written confirmation from the voter, we can't just take, there's federal case law and federal statutory law that says you can't remove people just because you get a mail bounce back. You have to have written confirmation from the voter that they've moved. There are other ways you can also get removal. There's 4 or 5 different things the registration department looks at, death notices and other reasons, but all of those notices are sent to verify. So that's where we are in that process. I don't know, I'm not on this Firefly update, so my guess is that this is part of the off-year maintenance. We call this an off-year because there's no general federal election, and that's when these list maintenance processes can take place. So they're probably talking about where they are in that mailing, and that a lot of this funnels through the Secretary of State during the off years, and that's probably what those notices are letting everybody know.
Michael, on the mailing for NCOA, I'll go back and look at BuzzFeed, which, by the way, Firefly is the communication channel between elections and the Secretary of State. And I believe that Jennifer, as chair, can request that you be added to Firefly. It's incredibly beneficial because all past trainings, webinars, et cetera, is available through Firefly. And so it's a great training tool. So if you have nothing else to do other than watch paint dry, you can watch all these presentations, but actually it's pretty interesting. But my question to you, Michael, and I think I raised it in my email, we keep mailing this stuff to people who we pretty sure have moved, which the NCOA, in case you don't know, is National Change of Address. If they're marked permanent, yet we continue to send our mailing to the location here in Cobb County and expect a different result, i.e. a response more than 0.1%. Some people would call that insanity. I do. I call it insanity. I realize we're not required to, but who does that? We do. Several counties do. We aren't alone. So I would just say, putting a tickler out there that perhaps when we're putting the budget together, that we add additional mailing to the budget to send it to both addresses. It is something that Janine did do. I don't know at what point it stopped, but it did stop. We used to. And it seems to make a lot more sense, so we have clean voter rolls. When you're removing 37,159 out of 37,240, is that what it was? Something like that?
206.
206. That's a lot of people on the voter rolls. That's a lot of cards mailed. It's a lot of taxpayer dollars being spent. It really does not give a good snapshot on how many people really are registered to vote. So that's just my recommendation for the future on that. And I will double check and see if it said that they were mailing them on the 8th, because that doesn't sound right, because we're this close to an election, right?
Yeah.
So I'll double check and get back to you.
Sure, and I can absolutely meet with the team. Like I said, once we get the information, I'll be able to ask more questions and
Okay.
kind of figure out where
So
we
you
stand.
we don't even have the list of
No,
voters?
ma'am.
Okay.
As of 1 o'clock, if they sent it, it's
I'm
been
pretty
since I've
sure
been in
you
this
probably
room.
don't.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for following up on that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so staffing report. We've been pushing really hard to get all of our part-time and full-time positions, even our seasonal positions. This is just an update for the part-time and full-time. So for the elections division, and it's worth mentioning that they've either already posted or held interviews or are in the process of doing it. For the elections division, there's a full-time admin specialist, so applications referred means all the posting has closed and now they're just deciding on which candidates they want to interview. For the prep center, there's 2 positions, one full-time and one part-time. The part-time, I recall, has been posted twice now. The first couple of times there was a very few returns. This time, I believe there was a lot more. However, it's my understanding that the interviews, they just didn't find the right candidate except for one. So they were actually filling 2 of the same positions out of the one posting. So they did find one, but we're gonna have to repost to fill that other part-time. And then with the recent promotion to David Letts to supervisor, of course, his full-time position has opened up. That has posted and we've received the candidates, so now they just need to decide on their candidates and schedule interviews. Registration, 3 opens, 1 full-time and 2 part-time. Again, the full-time specialist 1 and the part-time specialist 1 have been posted, applicants referred, so now they're just setting up the interviews. For the part-time GIS analyst, I believe that's still tied up in HR with the whole trying to reclass it from election project coordinator to the GIS analyst. If I recall on previous conversations, it was having to do with money and the cost of having a true GIS analyst. It just wasn't on par with that election coordinator pay. So I believe that's the holdup right there. And then absentee, they have 1 open part-time position, election coordinator 2, and I believe that we're in the process of posting that now. So hopefully that'll be up soon, and I believe our target was September 15th to try to have everything filled. So it's still obtainable. That 1 absentee may just be the outlier. Okay, just an update around in the office for our in-service week. I want to give a big shout out to Tammy and Debbie for putting it all together. Again, like I mentioned with Tammy doing the outreach and the voter ed stuff kind of on her own, well, she also has Debbie that helps her quite frequently. I believe they had some events the weekend before, and then we had all week of in-service, so they pretty much worked, 12 days straight late nights, every night at the end of the day. They had to prepare to set up for the next day. So they did an incredible job with doing that, and they serviced about 100 of our employees. So, you know, we're not the easiest to satisfy at times, so getting all of them together and holding something meaningful was no easy feat, so great job to them. The theme was Powered of Prepared. A lot of times we get so involved in the work that we kind of forget about our personal lives or the things that's going on around us, and situational awareness is a huge issue, you know, especially when we have employees that have been in the office for years and couldn't tell you where the nearest exit is or where to go if there's a fire drill. So these are some of the things that we focused on doing during the in-service. There was daily team building exercises. We had some guest speakers. We had Keith Mazonki talk about health and wellness from the county, and then also Sarah Delk came in and talked about de-escalation and things, which is a huge topic for us. We can all do a little better with de-escalation in the elections game. We did breakout sessions where they broke out into little groups and had scenarios, had to come up with solutions, and a lot of this data is information that we're going to use to develop certain procedures. So very, very meaningful stuff. We did a fire alarm for the first time in the new building, and I believe it was, 2 minutes? Everyone was out of the building in 2 minutes, and no one knew that it was even going to happen. It was kind of in the middle of lunchtime where people were just not paying attention and moving about. So, you know, to get everyone out into their safety zones within 2 minutes is awesome. And then in specific areas, the last day, if time permitted, they had little picnics. I believe some went to a park and just kind of had a little get together. And then the others went back into their offices and continued to work. Gabrielle Region 3, we had a workshop in Fulton County. Gabrielle Region 3, I believe, is nine counties. It's 8 or 9 of, it's the large metros and then a few others that are on the larger side, but not as big as the metros. This is our second time doing it, so it's still being developed, but the Gabrielle Committee does a great job of putting these together. So honestly, we learn a lot more from these kind of things than we would down in Savannah at the Gabrielle Conference. You know, with 159 counties, and the majority of them smaller, we really need to be talking with the other large metros on how we do things. We deal with a lot of the same problems, but it's the scale that's really the difference. So in this one, they talked about ABM and AIP procedures. You know, a lot of this stuff is all things that we all do every single election. We're all very familiar with. It's just good to see how other large counties, they put their spin on it, or even when we're going back and forth trying to decide, do we want to change this? Do we want to try this out? At times they've done it, they've implemented it, or they piloted it and it didn't work. So it's great feedback for us. You know, it's great opportunity for me to network with other people. You know, this is going to be the first election that I'm at the helm, and I need a lot of help and I have a lot of questions. So just meeting with the fellow election directors and asking them questions and getting their contact, it's a priceless meeting for our staff. Okay, so here's an update on the calendar. If anyone's paying attention, we've had quite a few elections this year, so one more to go, hopefully. You know, of course, there is the opportunity for a muni runoff, but I'm not going to put those bad vibes out there. We're just going to have one more election in November. And some upcoming things, so mailings. Mailings is a hot topic right now. So in light of the co-locations that we voted on today with the redistricting of the city of Marietta and our quarterly mailers with anyone that moved into the county or was transferred in, we need to get those mailings out. So we've met with the teams. As you saw in Tammy's presentation, we have the mailers already created. They're ready to go. We were waiting on the vote for the co-locations, and we still need to meet with our vendor, which I've already had a conversation with them. Our target is the week of September 22nd to get these mailers out. With the co-locations, I want to say, I have that figure here somewhere. Around 23,000 for the co-location, 23,000 voters are affected. Within the city of Marietta, it's 41,000 total, but of that 41,000, it's really just under 8,000 that were anything changed. And with the quarterly, we're approximately around 4,000. So, of course, to abide with county policy, we have to get our quotes and do all of those things on the county side. So that's already in motion. So we're looking at roughly 70,000 people to contact. So time is of the essence. We got to get it out as soon as possible. So we may be able to do it quicker, but at minimum, the deadline is the week of September 22nd to have it in the mail shipped. Not, we'll use the rest of this week and next week to hammer out all the details, but we need them in the mail by the week of the 22nd. Logic and accuracy testing is slated for September 22nd. We'll start in the main elections warehouse at 9 a.m. with the voting equipment, and then 10 a.m. in the absentee area for the ICC equipment. And that's all I have. Does the board have any questions?
I do have a question on the voter ID mailings. Are we mailing them, or is No Ink mailing them?
We're mailing them, however, for the city of Marietta, I believe code requires them to reimburse us for the notice of the affected voters.
We're also mailing the co-location ones, not No Ink?
Not No Ink, correct. Well, we could use, it's not a definite. We used the vendor on the last one and we didn't have any issues. However, it's going to boil down to the cost efficiency, who's, I hate to say the cheapest one. We don't always have to do that, but we've had success with the current vendor.
Yeah, well, not using the vendor also caused some problems. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
If I recall.
But yeah,
that was a big problem, so that's why I was questioning who's mailing them.
Yes,
And it adds additional time, does it not?
Well, that's where the hiccup lies, because of sometimes we get answers, sometimes we don't get answers, sometimes it's too long. We know with the current vendor, as soon as I call them, they're responding, they're working.
Okay.
Sometimes with No Ink, that we don't get the answers that we need in a timely manner. So that was our only concern with not using them. So like I said, when we have the conversations with them with the NCOA part of it, we can kind of go from there. But it's an option. It's an option right now.
Yeah, well, at least the postal service has gotten a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's getting really close.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, the sooner the better. We'll get it done as quickly as we can, but that was just our target deadline, no later than that.
What isn't done? I mean, what's remaining to be done?
Well, we have to get the data files together. Like I said, we have the mailers created, but we have to get the affected voters, the data files, all that. That has to be submitted to the vendors. They have to go through it and check the addresses, just so we kind of avoid some of the things that happened in the past. We don't want to repeat offense. So that's why I'm saying it could happen very quickly. It could, be the next couple of days, and it's a done deal. But we wanted to just build in that barrier in case there were some hiccups with the data.
Okay. And then I have one other question that was related to one of the public comments from Ms. Flom on getting the list of voters. Is that not something we can do?
I reached out to the Secretary of State for guidance on that, and the response that I received is that the practice is they go to the Secretary of State.
So they
and
can
cited a
take,
code
so
section.
they can take the money.
Yeah, there's an actual code section, and I wish that they should make it clearer in the code. The code says they have the authority, and then another part it says the duty to keep that list of, to provide the list of electors by political subdivision. That I would prefer to say like something to make it clear, like the only they can do it, but it's not. So the practice has been for all the counties to send people to the Secretary of State. So everybody's. I think one of the concerns is if you have one political candidate asking for the list from the local county, and they're getting it faster than the other people who are following the 2-week state thing. So that there's a little bit of a concern. Like if the normal process is to go to the state, then they want to be consistent with that so that you don't have some people getting their list in 2 days where other people are getting it, paying for it and waiting 2 weeks. And so I wish it were clearer in this. There's a lot of things I wish in the election code that were clear, and that's probably.
They are conflicting.
Yeah.
It is conflicting in the rules, but also you're lucky if you get those reports in 2 weeks.
Right.
And we're, 3 weeks out from early voting? Just saying. Okay. Maybe you can help get it expedited with all your new power.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Michael? I have a couple of quick things. First of all, thank you. Appreciate the thoroughness. Loved the in-service information. I'm so excited to hear that you guys really nailed that this time and involved everybody. I would love to see the agenda for what you did for the week, if that's something you could email to
Sure.
us, just so that we could just see that. And then regarding the mailings, we've had a lot of sort of back and forth on the mailings, and I think that it would be really great to sort of be clear with all 5 of us when they go out, how many are mailed, what the QA/QC process was, and what vendor we're using.
Sure.
I think that that's probably standard that we all. Debbie, am I missing anything on what we would want for that?
Your mic.
Sorry. No, we saw Tammy's cards, so I guess we know those are accurate. I can't stress enough the need to have 2 sets of eyes, that we don't just take somebody that says, yep, the mailing list is good to go, that hasn't gone through 1 or 2 people.
Right.
It needs to be verified against a list coming directly from Jarvis. I would think that's easy to run, correct?
Well, I don't think anything in Jarvis is easy, but yeah,
Well,
it should.
I concur.
Should be something to easily.
I concur with that, but maybe IT could help, IS in the case of Cobb County, could help do that mail merge if we need help on that to make sure it is accurate. It'd take them about 2 seconds versus 2 sets of eyes, far more accurate.
Sure, yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think Director Windley has offered before to assist on data, so maybe. But those would be my biggest concerns. Is the mailing list right?
Sure. No,
Are we, do the cards have the right precinct name? That's important. And
I think we need the stats, and that we want to basically be clear of what that QA/QC process
Yeah.
is. And I think I think we all need that this time around for just that sense
Yeah.
of security, that we
Sure,
know that.
absolutely.
especially this close to the election, early voting, so.
No, I
yeah.
understand. I'll be sure to, once we have what we're doing, you guys will be involved every part of the way. Of course, I don't want the first time that I'm in control of this to be a
That's
dumpster
why
fire.
I'm bringing it up now.
But I'm an advocate for, having multiple sets of eyes look at things, in the prep center. That's what we do. We send it around to everyone, have them look at it. Very, very seldom are there things that get completed without another set of eyes. So we'll be sure to have that happen.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Michael? If not, we will move into the board member comments. We'll start with Ms. Fisher, and we'll proceed down the line today.
I do have a couple of comments. One, welcome. welcome Kendall, welcome Reggie. Hopefully, this is a good learning experience for you all. And I want to offer anytime you all have a question, I'm happy to try to help. My opinion is oftentimes not that of the rest of the board, but I think it's very important that all opinions are heard and that all questions from all board members get answered. And it's critical that we not work in silos. That has become a concern in the last 2 months, that there's certain board members that have worked in silos, and a couple of surprises. And I am as much about transparency as I am about proofreading and accuracy. I think it's critical for us to operate fairly, transparently, and honestly as a board. And so with that, I just, want to give you all a heads up so it doesn't come out of left field. I will be asking to have a new election on next month's agenda. And the reason I really feel that it's critical is that you two will be serving for the next 2 years with a board right now that you guys had no decision in making. And I don't think that's fair to you. And I don't think it's fair to the voters. And so I really, whether it remains the same, that's up to the board vote. But I do believe both of you should have the opportunity to run for one of those offices and vote for who will be governing this board. So normally it is done that way. Normally we wait until the appointments have been made rather than holding an election prior, but we didn't. So I will be putting that forward. And hopefully I can get your two support on that because the other two board members don't support me on it. So that's my public comment. And welcome to the board.
All right. Well, I guess first I'll start off with saying good afternoon, everyone. Isabella, we talked earlier today. It seems like breaking news. I didn't know that I was the first African-American male to be sitting on the board, if that is true. But that's heavy. I just want to begin by saying, I'm truly honored to serve as a newly appointed board member for the Cobb County Board of Elections. This opportunity is not just a personal milestone for serving. I served in the military, in the Army. I've served overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan too as well, in different capacities. So, it's a chance to continue to serve, chance to contribute meaningfully to the democratic process and for the community, to shape the community that shaped me. I've been someone that's deeply rooted in Smyrna. I've been here in Smyrna, in the city of Smyrna, since '08. And I also have ties in the greater Atlanta area. And so I understand the importance of, fairness, transparency, and having accessible elections, especially, when being deployed. So I know how critical that is. I'm excited to work alongside, fellow board members to uphold the integrity of our electoral system and ensure that, every voice is heard, just like Debbie mentioned, and strengthen public trust in how we serve our voters. So I bring with me passion for civic engagement, and a commitment to operational excellence. And I believe that our work here will impact the future of Cobb County. And so I look forward to listening, learning, right? And leading with purpose and serving with a purpose. So I'm just grateful of the trust, and I'm ready to help guide this, this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy?
Just want to welcome the two of you to the board. It is a lot of learning. Trust me, I've been there, and I know that we're going to do great things as a team, so welcome. And then I do have a question for Daniel related. Michael gave me this thought, talking about all the elections that we're having in 2025. Is there a special election needed in the near future for the Superior Court clerk, since that person is no longer in her seat?
She's still in her seat.
Oh,
So
okay.
technically, she's suspended. That official is
Okay.
suspended. But so the short answer is not right now. There's no need for it. The longer answer is she's only suspended during the term of this investigation. The governor's appointed an interim person while the investigation and possible trials going on. What basically will happen is, if for any reason the seat is vacated before December of next year, and basically if the official's halfway through their term or not for Superior Court clerk, then if they're not halfway through their term, there will be a special election, but it will happen on the schedule with, be like the next primary or regular primary. It's not like what we dealt with where the court ordered a special date, for the commission thinks it would occur with the next regularly scheduled election. If it gets past the halfway point of the term, which would be, I believe, January 2027, then my understanding is that the deputy clerk would fill out the remainder of the term, and then there would be just an election in 2028.
So the good news for everybody who runs elections is we won't be adding a new election to the calendar for whatever.
Well, and if it was, it would be on the yes. There will be no special
Right.
set apart election.
Right.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
really my question.
Yes.
So that's actually a relief for those of us that are tired of having 6 elections in 1 year.
Right.
And that's all I have to say.
First, I want to thank the Cobb delegation for my appointment and for entrusting me to fulfill the mission of this board. It is an honor that I do not accept lightly. I look forward to serving the people of Cobb County, a place where I have lived for nearly 30 years. I have been engaged in voter activity for many, many years, from poll worker, poll watcher, poll monitor, all the things. Likewise, I look forward to working alongside my fellow board members. Thank you for the warm welcome, to carry out our stated mission, which in part, as it's published, is to register citizens of Cobb County to vote, which I've done, ensure that elections are free, impartial, fair, accurate, convenient, and accessible, encourage voter participation, and help the public understand and follow all laws, rules, and regulations. I will end with the words of Georgia's own, the late, great Congressman John Lewis, who said, "The vote is precious. It is almost sacred. It is the most powerful, nonviolent tool we have in a democracy." Congressman Lewis's words aptly reflect that voting is a bedrock of who we are as Americans. I am prepared to serve at a time such as this to ensure that that bedrock remains undisturbed. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Again, I just want to welcome Kendall and Reggie, and I want to announce that as the new board composition is set to begin its work, we will have a special called meeting for the purpose of holding a board orientation session. The meeting will take place on Monday, October 6th, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 8:30. It will be held at the Cobb County Elections Office, located at 995 Roswell Street in Marietta, and the meeting will be open to the public. In addition, as we begin planning the meeting calendar for 2026, I would like to ask for feedback from the community. We're considering scheduling some of our monthly meetings in the evening to provide greater access for those who may not be able to attend during the day.
Whether you're watching online or with us in person, or hearing about this from some other means, we would be grateful for your input. Please share your thoughts by sending us an email and letting us know if evening meetings would be helpful for you. Thank you for helping us make sure our meetings are as accessible as possible to the community. And with that, we conclude the business portion of today's meeting. Daniel, do we have a need for executive session today? I believe we do.
I believe we do. And can I have just like a moment of
Oh,
personal
you may,
privilege?
certainly.
I just want to welcome both new board members. My firm's been doing this a long time. And so I don't want to let anybody down, but you're actually, I think, the third, just in my term, African-American male. But James Dodd was a Cobb County pioneer. Mr. Dodd was on board, and I'm trying to think of the gentleman that was kind of in the mid-2010s, but you follow in distinguished footsteps. So I want to say welcome to both of you for that. And I just, this board has a history of sort of working together collaboratively, and I've always, our firm loves doing this work. It's something that's just a pleasure that we get to do. There's a lot more litigation focused than we would have liked in the last maybe 6 or 7 years, but we're hoping that both with this board and maybe some of the litigation that seems to be falling away, that we're going to go back to that era where most of this board is about being focused on the business of making elections accessible and fair and efficient. And I welcome anytime anybody on the board, but especially our new members, as you're sort of drinking water from a fire hose, learning all this election stuff, feel free to reach out, and we're just really excited to work with you.